Hello there, it's Josh here from Racing to Profit. Hopefully you can hear me. This is what is turning into a weekly kind of video walkthrough preview of a big Saturday handicap. As always, mainly with the intention of doing it in a way which will hopefully help you land on the winner, or certainly give you some ideas or things to think about, whether for this race or other things you might pick up for the future. So yeah, with that said, notepads at the ready if you so wish. I will try desperately to keep this around 20-25 minutes tops, because some of the others have probably been slightly too long. So where should we start? On the blog, there are some stats and trends pointers, which are always only ever a guide, of course, but some interesting ones nonetheless. Yeah, you can see there I've applied the stats. That's what I was going to say. You can see trainer records there. Kinran won the race last year. You can see the kind of the stats shortlist using the 12 from 12. Various other bits and pieces kind of leave a list of 6, as if they hold up, of course, which sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. So you can kind of flick through those. Yeah, trainers to have won the race in the last 12 years with runners today. They're always worth a look at. Also, if I jump over to GG's and yeah, the race at Ascot, the 305, the Challenge Cup. Before I do that, I should jump to the BHA site and the update for the course. This is on Friday. They've had quite a bit of rain. There's kind of 10-11 mil forecast today, and the same on Saturday. So we shall see. I'm kind of assuming this is going to be soft, and it could take some getting. Today there's quite a headwind. I think that's worth checking. Certainly watching the first couple of races to see if that's the case. Whether that kind of is the same again on Saturday, we shall see. But it could be you want some cover anyway, and trying to make all could be harder than normal, especially if they're being battered by a headwind. So that's something to consider. But I've kind of worked on the basis it's soft. The good thing with GG's, of course, is that as the ground changes, you can change the going, and that changes all of kind of some of the data that underpins the race card. So I've selected soft for this race. That's what I'm going to assume. As always, I will flick through a few different things, starting with Instant Expert. We're dealing with a 3-year-old plus handicap, of course. There's two 3-year-olds in this. Ropey Guest and River Nymph for Clive Cox. And yeah, of course, like I've said before, the Instant Expert is looking at what horses have done and being proven in conditions. Of course, some horses can improve for the conditions they face. An argument could be made in a kind of 7 furlong Ascot handicap in soft, where it's a slog, and an argument could be made more generally, I suppose, that you, in extremes of going, especially when it's soft heavy, looking at horses proven in conditions may not be a bad thing. But of course, horses that are unproven in conditions who may improve for them can be a bigger price, and of course that's always something we have to weigh up in our puzzle solving mission. But yes, if I look at the Instant Expert here, this is all form, winning form of the horses in the race in conditions. I should start with actually looking down the right hand side again, just to get a feel for those horses whose handicap marks are below their last winning mark. This doesn't take account of jockey claims, which may be significant for Raising Sand and Kinran in particular, in terms of how that impacts their marks against previous form. But you can see quite a lot of kind of within £2 to £4 of last winning marks. Again, you need to take account the likes of River Nymph are £11 above his last winning mark, but he's won his last 2 and he looks like an improving 3-year-old. Of course, he needs to prove he can win off this mark, but he's never had a go. He's never tried in a handicap of 101 before. So I wouldn't look at that and say, oh, he's £11 above his last winning mark, he definitely can't win. He could still be improving, or he might find that one step too far. We shall see. And then you can get some of these others here. Gabriel the Wire while possibly having questions in conditions, which you can look at in more depth, is now on his last winning mark. So he may be one to note. Well, maybe he'll do okay today, but certainly one to note, possibly moving forward, and one for the notebooks, whether that's the remainder of the season to come or into next season. But his mark is getting to a point where he may find an opening for him. So yes, looking at conditions here, you can see kind of those with proven form. I don't think it will go through to heavy, but if I just kind of go soft through to heavy, this is all races, which includes maidens and novices, and they can be deceptive because, of course, a younger horse, their latent class and ability can make them overcome conditions such as the going. But, you know, you can see the horses in green jumping out in terms of their form on soft and heavy. Kinran, blown by wind, has done okay. Well, I'll take a look at him a bit closer shortly. Greenside, King Ottica, River Nymph, Young Fire. So they're the ones kind of proven in a bog, and have done well in that. Obviously, if I click on handicaps here on the right hand side and just flat, so that will look at all handicap form, and you know, that kind of brings others into it. Raising Sand, no problems with conditions really. Remember, this is winning form, winning handicap, flat handicap form. Kinran, blown by wind. I suppose looking at horses that have done it multiple times in a bog, in soft or in ground conditions, is more of a positive than just once. I suppose Kinran, Greenside, who I think chased Kinran home or was close to in this race last year. Young Fire, as you can see down there. So they're the ones proven in conditions. If I just jump to heavy, you can see there's no horse that's won a flat handicap on heavy if it does go really bad. Blown by Wind's won a non-handicap on heavy. You can look at the place stats to see kind of who's placed in heavy ground. Wise Counsel, Admiralty, Blown by Wind again, Ropey Guest. If I look at handicaps, again, there's a couple there who have kind of placed in heavy, whether they've just got away with that, and you could arguably place more emphasis on winning form in conditions. And yeah, so you can see that in front of you. Pause that, ponder it if you so wish. That's the win tab, of course. The likes of Raising Sand have a problem with the class. Field size, distance, Kinran, 2 from 3 over the distance, 7 furlongs. Blue Mist probably got a ground question on this evidence. Got that to prove. Anyway, that's not to say, you know, he's only ran in one softer heavy ground handicap. But certainly got that to prove. River Nymph conditions look fine. Young Fire, certainly ground looks all right. That won't be an excuse. And so that's winning form. If I go on to placed form, you can kind of see Raising Sand, Kinran kind of do like these conditions. As we know, they're a bit like staying handicap chases you see forever. Raising Sand and Kinran seem to have been around soft ground Ascot handicaps for some time. What else we got? Greenside, you can see in terms of kind of win and placed form. Blown by Wind's got a course question. Ropey Guest has many questions, many unknowns in conditions because he hasn't really tried these certain conditions that often. Blue Mist, you can see. King Ottica again, he hasn't raced in many handicaps. That's why, both for Ropey Guest and King Ottica, they've kind of been racing in class ones quite a lot in their career to date. And so on and so forth. You can kind of see all that information in front of you. So that's the kind of the instant expert dashboard of those proven in conditions. If I look at pace, let me just, so if I'm assuming it's soft, there's only 8 examples of kind of soft ground handicaps. Ascot 7 furlongs, 16 runners or more. I suppose you could change the kind of field sizes to get a few more examples, so kind of 14 runners or more, and you can kind of see on soft ground actually that being held up sometimes in these big Ascot cavalry charges, being patiently ridden, as we know, can be more of a positive. That's why Jamie Spencer, especially over the 8 furlong straight 8 here, has the best record of any jockey riding to date in 8 furlong handicaps here. But you can see how hard it is from well, we got 13 or so race examples, but three from 99 that I held up. If I just change the draw, I think, as always, it's worth checking the stalls information. I think on Saturday, I should just check really, because that's looking at Fridays. If I look at Saturdays, straight course, yeah, the stalls are stand side, and as it's a right-handed track, that means stall number 1 would always be up against the inside rail. So it means 18 is going to be, given the stalls are stand side, 18 is going to be up against this near side rail as we kind of look across the track. Whether that's sort of positive or not, we shall see. And you can see the pace map here. Nothing has really led. There's no out and out front runners, and given conditions, you'd be surprised if anyone really bombs forward. So it could be you want to kind of be in this prominent position, and being held up could be even more of a disadvantage, given they may dawdle in front and they may not stop. That may well depend on this headwind, as I've discussed, but we shall see. The likes of Kinran should be able to hold his usual position, maybe get some cover from Hay Jonesy and Jack's Point, but those two should both be up there. King Ottica tracking, and yeah, Shaleer, River Nymph maybe up it from kind of the higher numbers. Admiralty and Greenside can be prominent. They'd never normally bomb forward. Whether or not Rowan Scott, knowing he's got the rail, makes use of that, we shall see. You've got the heat map here. That's just about the stalls record in these conditions, and kind of race position as well, and what's a positive, and actually kind of being lower drawn in these conditions and kind of racing prominently or leading, it has been a positive, hence the green. Not that there'll be kind of massive data sizes, but still interesting nonetheless. But yes, you can look at that pace map and make your own conclusions, I suppose. Like I've said in previous videos, kind of being dogmatic about where it's going to be best, A, to be drawn, and B, where on the pace, isn't always as easy as just looking at a graphic like this based on some of the previous 2 or 3 big Saturday kind of sprint handicaps. But yeah, you can see that I wouldn't think on paper, given what will be in the jockeys' heads, that this will be kind of overly strongly run, which in theory means you don't want to be too far off the pace or too far back, because they should be able to conserve a lot of energy, go their own pace, and in theory shouldn't be stopping. But having said that, of course, they're all going to now fall in the hole, and something back here is going to kind of stay on really well. We shall see. But yes, you can kind of look at that and make your own conclusions, I suppose. So that's that information as I tick around to 13 minutes. If jumping to the race card, you've always got different bits of data here. These report angles are good. Safi Osborne is turning into a very good £7 claimer, and it may be worth keeping an eye on her rides moving forwards as a way in, or you can see her record there the last 14 days riding with confidence. She does seem to be able to settle a horse and kind of time her challenge well, which is interesting. Kinran's got a head-to-head record. You can see, bar raising sand, which was over 8 furlongs, which possibly is a bit too far in a straight furlong cavalry charge for him. Straight track cavalry charge. He's beat, him and Raising Sand's form ties in quite a bit, obviously. And he's kind of finished well ahead of the rest at Ayr. There's various other bits you can see here. David O'Meara's yard are going better than they have been, as you can see from those stats there in the last 14 days. Not that his track record is anything to shout about, but Ascot track records are always interesting, or to not be so dogmatic over them, just because of the nature of how competitive the racing generally is here, and of course all those races during Royal Ascot Week, and how hard they are to win, obviously. But again, you can kind of build that kind of information into the price, I suppose. What else have we got? Blue Mist head-to-head horses for courses, 2 from 6-3 places at Ascot. Charlie Fellows, he's done well at Ascot in the last year, as you can see there. You can click through different things. His second start in the handicap stats are not brilliant, but the place stats not too bad, and so on and so forth. I suppose Looking at, I'll just click through some of these. Martin Dwyer's in good form. William Muir's are going okay, as you can see there. Yeah, Dwyer's been riding well in the last kind of couple of weeks with confidence. The likes of Joe Tuitt as form, as questions over the form of the yard, or are there? 0 from 8, 0 places the last 14 days, 1 from 22 in the last 30. Etc. Etc. What have we got? Gabriel the Wire's got some head-to-head, as you can see there, depending on conditions, etc. So that's that. Looking at what horses are doing differently. Kinran, this is his second run after a wind-up. I would have to, surely this has been the target all season, I should think. They've got his mark down a couple of pounds, and they probably do need Will Carver's £5, but at least he's got experience of riding him from last time out. He won this race here last year, and it's turned into an okay renewal. That was off 101, posting a 112 on the RPRs, which was possibly a career best. 7 furlongs, soft ground. He's down to 100 with the £5 claim, although Ben Curtis is arguably worth more than that £5, if that makes sense, given he's a kind of pro jockey, and Will Carver's still learning about the game, but he's decent, and he's been riding okay. 1 from 7, 3 place with Barron in the last year, got experience of the horse, and this air form, as you can see from the Challenge Cup, my stats post, as a track last time out, Ayr has done best in the last 12 years, and actually all 6 of those are from the Ayr Gold Cup, so that has been quite a good trial or prep race in a way for this race, and that's solid form. Of course, you can go back and watch the video, but Nahar's won that like a group horse in a handicap, so he could be pretty decent. They've kind of worked out how to ride him a bit more patient, having been a bit too aggressive at Goodwood. Spanish City's solid Yardstick. Mr. Lupton came into it on the back of a decent run. Soldier's Minute had been running well and had run well the penultimate start at York. So that was a decent handicap. It could be argued, having looked through it, that Kinran and that Ayr Gold Cup run is the best piece of last time out form in this race. That's subjective, I suppose, but you can flick through and see if you can make that judgment. So yeah, you've got those different factors. Who else is doing anything different? I'm looking at first time headgear. I can't see anything. Ropey Guest is up 3 classes, having raced in a class 5. I'm not sure if that was a maiden novice, but getting a win on the board, having been quite highly tried. That might do world of good for his confidence. Who knows? You've got the likes of Margerson here, haven't got a great course record in the last 5 years, and he's only 2 from 70 in the last 2 years on the turf. Which obviously raises some questions, maybe. And yeah, I'm just looking through who's doing something different. Second run in a handicap for King Ottiker. River Nymph for Clive Cox is up in class, but has obviously kind of won fairly comfortably the last twice. Poster 103 here, gone up £11. Some of these races have worked out okay. Soft ground looks to be fine. 48 days off. Has this been the plan? Has this been the target? Freshened up. He's obviously at the top of the market if you go and have a look, kind of 13 to 2 or so, along with Kinran around 6s. But he looks interesting, in form, unexposed horse. It obviously does have a class question, but he could be going up in the ratings and may not have finished improving just yet, and conditions don't look a problem. Of the kind of lightly race ones, maybe he's the more interesting, but he does have that handicap mark to overcome. So you're kind of building that into the odds, I suppose. I'm just trying to see if there's anything here with first time headgear on, like with the Cambridgeshire winner, and I don't think there is, no. So you've got all of those. The other thing I'll finally touch on, I'll just jump over, this probably will be about 25 minutes, so I tick around to 20. Here's Horse Race Base, here's the ratings, which can be a decent guide, and you can kind of flick through and kind of see those. The spread isn't massive, actually, and in these races it can very much be when there's soft ground. Ascot 7 furlongs, who's going to handle conditions best, who's proven, who's coped in conditions. That's a kind of argument you could make, which can make ratings and things seem less important, but it's something to factor in, and I always try to see if I can make a case for something in the kind of top 6 to 8 in these big field handicaps, and make sure I do those justice. But that's not to say please don't be put off by casting your eye down to these lower ones necessarily. It's just a further part of the puzzle you can consider. There's the class function here, which is just a good way. Again, you can pause and flick through that yourselves just to see who's proven at different classes. Always looking to see who may have ran well at kind of group or listed level, and whether or not they may be able to do damage in a handicap. That can be an interesting consideration. You can see the kind of proven class 1 and 2 handicap form and who has to prove it. Chalier, Youngfire, Jack's Point, Wise Cancel, River Nymph, King Optica, Ropey Guest. They have to prove themselves in class 1 or 2, although some of them haven't run at this level and some haven't run very many times. So that's not to say they can't. Again, you're kind of building that into the price. The final thing I will touch on is in kind of recent weeks, Matt and Gigi's have added this profiler tool, which is very good. So you can add kind of the handicap. Let's look at flat handicaps. You can flick through all the horses last 5 years. And you can just see their suitability and conditions and how well they've done. As you can see, you can kind of flick through distance, class, form at Ascot. Obviously, Raising Sand has done pretty well. The question with him is day since run, especially as, if I just jump back to the card, I'm assuming may have had a problem. Osborne doesn't do well, as you can see here, with horses returning after 60 days or more in the last couple of years, 2 from 70, and Raising Sand has never won off a break this long before. That's not to say he can't, and of course he will have been prepped for this. They will have him as fit as they can, so maybe there's nothing in that. That break would suggest a problem. I don't know. I think Hugh Taylor was on TV talking about it, 'cause he's a shareholder in the horse, isn't he? I didn't watch that yet, so I'm not sure if he mentioned if there's been a problem or a hold up or whatever. But he's got a question, of course. With Safi's £7, his mark looks okay. Obviously, based on that 7 furlong win here last July for 103. Nicola didn't claim then, I don't think, but I could be wrong. And then that £7 takes him down to 100 if you're looking strictly on that kind of pounds off. But of course, Safi is an inexperienced jockey learning the ropes. But yeah, so that profiler tool is pretty good, and you can kind of flick through. If I just look at Kinran, you can see his form on soft. He really does like soft. 2 from 3 places, 7 furlongs. I mean, is he a solid each way bet for nothing? Knowing my kind of recent form, surely even I can't get him out of the top 5. Maybe I can. We shall see. But surely, he is the one that looks the most solid for me, given his fitness and that run in the Air Gold Cup. This is his second. That was after a bit of a break. Second run after a wind up. This will have been the plan. He should come on for it. I probably am talking myself into an each way bet. Is 6 to 1 fair? Given his proven form, maybe he could be shorter. We shall see, but that's a subjective odds-based judgment, which I'll leave you to make as well. So that's Kinran as I tick around to 23. Is there anything else I want to pick out? There's various different things you can look at. Trying to go through all these in 25 minutes is clearly quite difficult. This is River Nymph, quite unexposed, lightly raced. You can see from the numbers, conditions look fine. 2 from 2 under Adam. He's the other one just because he's a 3-year-old, and I'm not saying anything too revelatory here, given they're both at the top of the market. I suppose you click on Youngfire because of his forming conditions. He's got a class question. He's had 2 runs. He's got a big field question. So he's got a class question. Day since run of fine. It's kind of straight track question as well. He's got form around left-handed tracks, which may be worth noting. So, there's different things there you can flick through. Maybe I'll click on Gabriel the Wire. The trip's fine. Like I said, his mark's down to his last winning mark. What did I want to look at? He does tick quite a few boxes. The going's the question for him. All his forms on good and good to firm. But they have got his mark down. And he is on his last winning mark. And those types are always of some interest. Maybe when he returns to bet the ground. But he's one worth noting, possibly for the future. given where he is and his mark, if he flounders here, may come down even more. Maybe a return to Chester on decent ground at some point. He is owned by the good doctor, of course. But yeah, you can kind of see those. Maybe the final one I'll do is Admiralty, because he likes placing. Again, he's placed a couple of times on heavy. All his winning and best form seems to be with a decent surface, but that's a question, of course. And you can kind of go through and look at different bits and pieces of his form and various others if you so wish. So yes, with that said, I will shut up. I've ticked past 25 minutes. Hopefully there's enough there for you to have some information, have a ponder, have a flick through, look through some of the horses with whatever tools you use and kind of make a judgment. And if you come to a decision and have a bet in the race, do post a comment on Saturday's post. I'm talking to you now at Friday around 10 a.m. That will go up in kind of 2, 3 hours, 4 hours time. I'll get that up soon. So if you like anything, do post a comment. But yeah, hopefully that video is useful. As always, you can access the full set of GG's tools. You can register for a free account and get access to various different things every day at the link below the video. You can try it for £1 for 30 days if you so wish. Again, link below the video. And you can buy weekend passes, I think, or week passes. I'll try and find the link for that, but that's always an option also, which is always good, especially for festivals and things like that. So that's worth keeping in mind. Yeah, but with that said, with any luck, I've said something or shown you something that may help you point you towards the winner or shore up your thinking wherever it was, or whatever horse you had in mind. But yes, thanks for watching, and until the next time, this is Josh saying best of luck with whatever you go with in this race, and yeah, happy punting until the next time. This is Josh saying bye for now and have a great weekend. Cheers.